All right. There we are, everyone. Thank you all for being here. My name is, let me go right to the graphics because we are doing this on a YoloBox. My name is Anthony Barocas. I am here for YOLO Live. We are doing this show on a YoloBox Pro. Everyone always asks, what are the settings? Right now we're doing about 25 frames per second, 4 megabits, and it says we've got 0 drop frames. So we are wired Ethernet, and the YoloBox is doing the pre-show, the music, audio mixing, the graphics, the camera switching, the picture-in-picture, the overlays, the comments. I'm not doing any bonding today, so I could, but I'm not. Today we have an interesting show. Make money streaming. And the reason this came up is because, let me go over here to the Pro, to the laptop, is because Robert Wilson asked, what is a ballpark figure to charge for a 2-hour YoloBox streaming event using one camera and one projector? There you go, ISO cues. Can the Ultra record in 4K whilst streaming at 1080p? Yes. What is the max bit rate for ISO recordings? Are ISO recordings clean, no overlays? No, ISO recordings, yes, ISO recordings would be clean. They would just be as the input comes in. Then you can also record program. It is individually selectable in the interface. Create a live stream. I don't want to create a live stream. I just want to go to monitor mode. Hang on, I'm going to show you. Come on. All right, so let's look at the overhead. Since I don't have this thing. So you're here, and there's a little record button. You click on the record button, and you can see the 720, 1080, and 4K. Of course, I only have program plugged in, so it's like, oh, you only have program. So I can't unplug anything. Let's see if I just plug a wire in, will it do something? There you go, HDMI 1. So there you can have your program and HDMI 1, or just record ISOs. And your stream is still in a separate area. So your stream encoding is what we're used to seeing on the Pro and other models. And then this new record tab is separate. So right now my bitrate is 20 megabits, 30, 40, 50 megabits. And it'll go up to 60. 60 and 5994. And I've asked them for clarification on this, like if, in terms of 30, there's no camera that's going to give you 3000 output. If a camera is going to do 30, it's really doing 2997. The only camera that did a true 30 was the Canon 5D, the first one, and everybody complained to Canon, and Canon changed it to 2997. So that was the only one, because 2997 is part of the broadcast standard. 3000 is not. So I asked them for clarification as to, is this 2997 or is this a true 3000, which no camera is going to input? So I don't know. But there's your answer question to the question. Also, remember that H.265 is more efficient than H.264. So if you're doing 50 megabits at H.265, it's like 70 megabits at H.264. Excuse me. So you could do that for all of the other inputs. Again, I don't have a bunch of extra inputs laying around. Nobody actually makes a tablet or a single box that will spit out like 8 video signals just by hitting one play button. Nobody makes a box that does that. That's kind of what I need for testing, and I can't get anybody to build me one. So if you got leads to help me with that, put them in the comments or send me a direct message. Let's see, I'll move that up a little bit higher. So yes, you can do the recording in 4K while streaming in 1080. What is the max bit rate? For ISO recordings, we found that it's 50, and ISO recordings clean, yes. Wait, can you show through example how to use and best way URL overlay? The best way to use URL overlay, I feel, is if you have someone else creating graphics. And the best way to, the most obvious need for having someone else create graphics is if you're doing sports. Now, for those who don't know, there is a web graphics tool. I always forget what it's called. There's a web graphics tool that's part of YoloCast that's free and included and usable when you purchase any YoloBox. And with that, you can build your own graphics. You can do your own scoreboard and any design you want, any colors you want, any font you want and everything. You build it and then you load it into the graphics here quickly. I'll show you how to do that. So you come over here, you'd be in your overlays, and then down at the bottom left there, it says Web URL Overlays. You can choose from YoloCast, or you can have from another URL. I have some already built on YoloCast, so you can see there's a scoreboard, American Soccer, no logo. I'm going to click on that. I say done. It's going to take a moment to go get it and bring it in, but then you can see how I can take it. I can move it where I want to move it. Make it a little smaller. Put it in the bottom center. Say done. Actually, let's put that there, and then we put the graphic up. 2, 3. There it is. Actually, I must have brought it in on another demo and it's still there. So there you can see that scoreboard. The advantage with using a web-based scoreboard is that I'm watching the game. I'm switching cameras in the game. Maybe I'm bringing in viewer comments and things like that. And if I'm doing that, I'm not also looking at the scoreboard and checking the time and the score and adjusting the numbers and everything. It's on a different tab than the mini tabs I'm already using. So by putting this in the hands of someone else who has a laptop, they can just be focused on the scoring, the clock, penalties, people on base, all the different aspects of different sports that they need to manage in that scoreboard. And I don't have to worry about it. It's being brought in over the web. I just turned it on and off. Super easy. Ready? I don't want it there. Now I want it back. Give it a couple of seconds. It comes in. It fades in nicely. That's really nice because now I'm able to focus on my task. They're able to focus on their task. And that is one of the key advantages I see for leveraging a web URL overlay in the YoloBox. I tried the bonding, but it is not working. Can you demonstrate? Yes, I can. Let's go back to our multi-view here. I will exit this because this is just a monitor mode. I'm not connected to streaming here. So done. I'm going to duplicate a previous event. I'm going to call it HD6. Done. Create. Enter. Now I need to tell it I'm going to use the streaming mode, the multi-streaming. Yes, I know. And then I'm going to say where to go. I'm going to send it to, and this is a good thing in terms of business. When you're testing, there's a tips section on the YouTube channel. I'm going to digress for a bit. There's a tips section on the YouTube channel, which is this one. And in the tips section, there is a 12 tips, yes, for streaming success. And let me bring that up. There you go. Top 12 tips for streaming success in 2023. One of the key tips is to test. Don't just get something and go to the sideline or to the event and it should work. It should always work. This is what they said it would do. Test it, because sometimes there's always hidden limitations or certain idiosyncrasies that you don't know about until you actually put it to use and you're like, oh, okay, I have these USB modems and I put in a SIM card. And the first time I got it, I was like, yep, I'm just going to plug it into my device and it's going to work because they said it would work. And the SIM card company says, yeah, just put it in and it'll work. Everybody says it should just work. Yeah, it doesn't just work. This one from ZTE comes with you stick it into the computer and then a little disk icon appears, and then there's software. You run the software, and then you tell the software, yes, I can do roaming with this SIM card. And then yes, turn on LTE. And then you save those settings, and then it works. But you don't know that unless you test it. So go through all of these different articles. Can help you get started with regards to the YoloBox if you're new to the YoloBox. You know, top tips to optimize your YoloBox recordings, multi-stream, 3 ways to optimize your internet, how to do audio mixing. These are all very useful aspects of production that you kind of really need to wrap your mind around, because they're all part of this whole, especially in terms of the YoloBox, because usually you're doing all of it. You know, you can still kind of outsource it. Have somebody else mix the audio, have somebody else do the graphics, have somebody else do cameras and stuff like that. And I just do, the production of the show. But still, everything passes through you, and you kind of need to be aware of how that interfaces with what you're doing. Now, back to that question. Bonding, right. So let us go back to the Pro. Let's go to the overhead. Let's go to the Pro. And I'm going to go, what I did was I created a group specifically for testing. I call it my Scratchpad. My account is the only account in the group, so that I could push stuff to the web, because when I'm testing, in order to test the streaming capability of the YoloBox with a cellular modem or test the bonding or anything like that, I need it to go somewhere. And if you have a business professional YouTube page and things like that, you don't want to be sending all your tests to the professional page. Now, yes, you can make them unlisted, but it's clutter on the back end. Whereas I just created this, group on Facebook, and it's like I just keep shoving stuff there, and it doesn't matter. So there, I've got that. And now you come over to bonding, network bonding. You can turn it on here, or you can turn it on at a higher level at the top level. And let me plug this in. So now what is it going to see? It is going to see my Wi-Fi. It is going to see my 4G LTE built in. It is going to see my Ethernet, and it's going to see my USB dongle. If I take the USB dongle out, that should actually go away. It didn't. So we're going to run the speed test. And it uses FAST as a destination to pull this information from. And what it's doing is, as I said at the beginning of the show, the bonding is not necessarily, you're not adding all these things together. So if I could do, 10 up with this stick, and I can do 10 up with the LTE that's in there, and my Wi-Fi can do 20 up, I do assess which is the best connection, which has the lowest latency, the least jitter, the most stable connection, which is probably going to be the Wi-Fi. And it's going to say, okay, the Wi-Fi can give you 20. It might even downgrade that a little bit. It's going to say, you should probably be under 15. So it says 18 right there. So I know my bandwidth in the office is more than 18. But here it is bonding all of those done, and it's saying 18 or 19.1. I know I could do more than that with just the Wi-Fi, but what it's doing is it's giving me, you want to make sure you're less than this in order to make sure that your stream is going to be reliable going through. And honestly, I have been streaming these shows at 4 megabits for 40 shows, and 4 megabits looks really good even at 1080p. So I would say you don't need, for anyone who I want to stream at 8 or 12, maybe if you're doing 4K, but who's watching in 4K on a 4K screen with perfect vision to be able to see all of 4K? And is the content you're streaming at 4K needing 4K, or is it conference where somebody's talking? You don't need 4K for that. So working at HD, you really don't need those mega high bit rates. And then you would just, when you say stream, it's going to leverage all of that capability that's there, the multiple connections. Again, it's not going to be going across all of them all the time. So if I have cellular and I have a good, strong Ethernet connection from the facility, it's going to lean heavier almost exclusively on the Ethernet, but the other ones will still be there. And then should the Ethernet fail for some reason, it's going to seamlessly switch over to the cellular. Now that is great because it also lowers your data usage of the more fragile networks. So that I think is a good feature, even though, I know people who would be like, well, if I have 3 connections, I want to use them all to the maximum capability. The problem then is if you have, multiple cellular sticks, multiple cellular connections, and you're using them all up to here, the maximum capability, if now 100 people come and they're on their phones too, that ceiling comes down. Now all of a sudden you're here and the ceiling has come down and you're still trying to push this, things are going to drop. So you don't want to be at the ceiling. You want to be, I always say, at least half of what the available bit rate is. At least half. So if I want to stream at 4, I want to see at least 8 to 10 megabits availability, good solid 8 to 10. If I want to stream multiple streams independently, not using multi-streaming, but if, so let's just say I'm doing 4 and 4 is 8, I wanted to see 16 to 20 megabits solid, good availability. Great job, Anthony. Content quality of my broadcast platform has improved dramatically since I began following your shows. I make money with on-site live streaming. Yes, and that is one of the things we're talking about with today's show, making money streaming. Like some of the things I've gotten involved with are local nonprofits. I offer them assistance with their streaming shows. And then when COVID hit, we did everything remote with remote guests. And since the YoloBox can do that, it's a great local, on-site, and remote tool. It's a good tool for people who want to do their own crafts, their own shows, and handle the production themselves, like I'm doing. So I'm able to do this weekly show with the help of the YoloBox because it allows me to do all those different tasks, the comments, the graphics, the pre-show, the post-show, the backgrounds, the green screen. It's all being handled by the YoloBox. That's, it does, I have 2 vMix kits, I have a TriCaster, I have hardware switchers, and they each have their place. I can definitely have shows that are too big for the YoloBox, and I'll go to vMix. I have a show coming up on Friday. I'll be using vMix because it is a show where I need to grab multiple web screens, crop them, resize them, and put them in RTMP them into other destinations. And it's a very complex logistical nightmare that is much easier to make happen on a computer using a tool like vMix than it would be on a portable tool like the YoloBox. See, the YoloBox is purpose-built. It's portable, it's light, it's got a battery in it. So if you need something to, that leverages those skills, this is your screwdriver. If, Friday, I need a wrench, so I'm using a different tool. So use a wrench when you need a wrench, use a screwdriver when you need a screwdriver, and I have an A10 Mini over here. That's a hammer. I use a hammer when you need a hammer. Don't use a wrench to do what a hammer needs to do. They're all multiple tools in your toolbox. So yes, oops, that was, the background is being provided by my A10 mixer. So if I want to put the Pro behind me, if I want to put the laptop behind me, if I want to put the overhead camera behind me, ta-da, it's all being handled by another switcher. So different tools for different tasks. Let's go back to the comments. I can't log into Facebook on YoloBox Pro like the first. Are you trying to log in to 2 different accounts? Or are you trying to log into the same account on 2 different YoloBoxes? Because I have that. I have this box and that box both logged in. Actually, yes, I do. I do have 2 YoloBoxes. Let's go to my overhead. So if I come over here and stream encoding, nope, not that one. Oh, I'm probably not in streaming mode. Done. So I need to duplicate this, duplicate. I'm going to say it's HD6, done, done. And then I'm going to go into HD6 And then I'm going to come over here and I'm going to say go into a group, go into my Scratchpad, done. I need, oh, maybe I have a video. Let's load a video. Let's load my countdown, done. There's a video, go live. Yes. So that is streaming, Wi-Fi. And then I come over here and you know what? I already have a camera and let's go to my destinations and that's already there. We're going to say go live. Done. And there we have two different devices on my account, both streaming, actually technically both streaming to the same exact group that I have on Facebook under my account. So I can't log in to Facebook on YoloBox Pro like the first. No sound. Got it. Thank you for letting me know. Boo, 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 boo. Turn on the sound from the HDMI. There we go. And this one's probably going to let me know I got no sound too. So let me turn on the sound for the local video. There we go. So sound is now playing on both of those. This is still 4 megabits. That one's at 2 megabits. And I'll say stop. And I'll say end, stop, end. And it'll close out both. Making money. Do you carry a business card to hand out when people ask about streaming for them? Wait. Right there. Yes. I carry business cards in my pocket, in my wallet all the time because I am my business. So if I'm talking with someone and, oh, you do streaming. Oh, I know someone who, all right. I do find it better though. I mean, business cards are great to give out, but I do find that often the take rate goes way down when I give out business cards. However, if I can say, give me that person's information, I'll reach out to them. That has a much better success rate because then I have the responsibility for representing my business, not this other person. And I find that also they may be thinking of it right then, but then they get involved with something else and then something else and something else and something else. And that moment that we had just kind of falls into distant memory. Whereas if they say, oh, I know someone, you know, all right, well, let me reach out to you. And I call them in a couple of days. Hey, that person, could you give me that information? And I can reach out to them. You know, that has much better success. So business cards are good. I find business cards also just create a little bit of legitimacy in terms of your business, like it's been formalized on a piece of paper. But at the same time, I find person-to-person communication to be much more effective. Stream 415 says, I never know what to charge. It really depends on the client. I'm happy to hear you're working with nonprofits. How did you choose that market? Working with nonprofits, I think, is a great way for everyone to get started because I used to be based in Philadelphia. I lived in Philadelphia, grew up in Philadelphia, had lots of business in Philadelphia, and we moved to Texas. I didn't know anybody here. I didn't have any business contacts down here. You know, I essentially handed over the work that I had in Pennsylvania and I handed it to someone else, you know, to continue that work because that way I wanted to keep the clients happy. And it says, listen, I'm not going to be here, but I know this other person. He's going to be able to take care of you. Here you go. So I came down here and you got to network. You got to put your hands out, put your feelers out and get to know people, join some nonprofit groups, join some local community organizations, join the local production groups. In Dallas is the Dallas Producers Association. There's video associations, there's filmmaking groups, there's YouTuber groups. Getting involved with local production community lets you meet other people. And if you are already good at what you do, you then become an asset to all of them. Oh, you're a camera operator. Oh, you're an audio operator. Oh, you do teleprompter. Oh, you do this. Well, I do this. I need your services. You know people who could use my services. Also, it helps in terms of reaching out to marketing people too, because people who do marketing can do events, and events are the type of thing where they might need multi-camera recording, even if it's not live streamed. That's the key thing. It's like people tend to always think, oh, you do streaming. Yes, but I also do multi-camera live switched production. Even if it's just in the room and it doesn't go anywhere else, I do that too. Streaming it out is just one component of this process. But then they start to think, oh, well, can you provide me with 3 video projectors and screens and the drape? And yeah, I don't do any of that. That's AV, and that's usually handled by the hotel. So finding out where you fit in the puzzle is also key. I do this, and this is my wheelhouse. I don't do that, and I don't do that. It's like I don't do audio mixing. I'll hire someone to do audio mixing. I handle the video aspect of it. And figuring out what to charge, you start to work out, like, what does my gear cost, amortize that across multiple events. What do I need to make, if it's a supplementary income, like you're working just on the side, not as much. But then as that business grows and you think about letting go of that other work, then you're saying, okay, well, this needs to make this much. I need to make this much. And then you also have to consider overhead, cost of, your space, space to store all your gear, future purchases like an Ultra, things like that. And then, production insurance and other overhead costs need to be amortized into that as well, which is why then people who do this professionally will charge more. And then sometimes while you're getting started, you're like, well, this other guy wanted to charge $2,000 to come and, do this funeral. I don't need to charge $2,000. I'll just go and do it for a couple $100. Yes, because you don't have their overhead. You're not relying on this to cover a business and employees and taxes and everything. So there's a reason why certain costs are indeed different based on where you are in the life cycle of a business too. Once again, my name is Anthony Brogus here for YOLO Live, and I will bid you all adieu and look forward to seeing you next week.